Greetings again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Eugene Reviews. I am Eugene, and apologies for not putting out a video last week for a movie review. Life just kind of kicked in and just had to kind of experience a little bit of a delay in the process. And then, of course, the event that we're going to be talking about, which was kind of the mood change, the mood setter in regards to that week regarding my absence for Eugene Reviews. But nonetheless, we are back on track here for another movie review. And of course, as you can tell from the intro, what we're going to be covering, it's going to be another MCU film, but this time it's going to be the 18th MCU film instead of the chronologically 9th film that we're kind of still going in order for. But because of certain events, we are going to be covering this one, and it's none other than Black Panther. Of course, do you know why we're going to be covering Black Panther? Unfortunately, tragically, suddenly, on August 28th, 2020, actor, influencer, and trailblazer Chadwick Boseman passed away due to his 4-year battle with colon cancer. He was only 43 years old, and this was a shock to the entire world. Not just the death, but also his continuous battle with this disease. Now that we know, throughout his entire stint at Marvel, he was battling colon cancer, really is captivating, really is heart-drenching, really is heartbreaking, really is devastating to know. But it also really is inspiring to know that Chadwick really overcame that, didn't show any signs of slowing down, didn't show any signs of illness, and continued to fight on and really kind of provide the world his illustrious performances and great works of art. But yes, so in honor of Chadwick Boseman, in remembrance of his untimely passing, I will be doing this Eugene Reviews of Black Panther at this time. And hopefully from his courageous acts, we as a people can really be inspired by not his death, but his life. How he lived, how he carried himself, even though he struggled with this battle, with this fight against cancer. How he really held himself up. So I really hope that his livelihood, his walk of life can really inspire anyone and everyone to overcome their own obstacles. As far as Black Panther and my history with watching Black Panther, I have seen it in theaters, I want to say at least 2 times. I remember the first time I watched it, I did watch with a group of friends and co-workers, all kind of occupying one row the night before it came out officially nationwide. Wakanda forever! And you just knew something was in the air because it was not just a regular film, it was an event. It was a spectacle to behold. Like, you weren't just there for a 2-hour film, you were there to kind of be drenched with this beautiful culture and this beautiful story and this beautiful, illustrious, though fictitious, standpoint with Wakanda and Black Panther. So with that said, let's go ahead and hit the 3 acts. Act 1, development. Black Panther, take 1. So the story of the development of Black Panther doesn't really start in 2015 when it was initially announced. It actually starts all the way back to 1992, believe it or not. Back in 1992, Wesley Snipes, who just came off White Man Can't Jump, decided he wanted to uphold the responsibility of creating and developing a Black Panther film. And it seemed like it was almost dead set on that it was going to be executed with a bunch of people on board, like Stan Lee being on board with it, with Wesley Snipes considering directors like John Singleton to be a part of the project. But what ultimately left that project imbalanced and incomplete throughout so many years was Hollywood really not grasping the concept of Black Panther and getting confused with the concept of the Black Panther Party. So that was kind of really off and on for almost 20 years, with Wesley Snipes really trying to fight to make sure that this film was developed. And then, of course, finally in 2015, it was announced that Black Panther was going to be made as a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for their Phase 3. And the revealing of that was just as great. Like, when the logo for Black Panther came up, everybody was just ecstatic that they were going to make a Black Panther film. And then just after that, they announced who was going to don the cap of T'Challa himself, and it was none other than actor Chadwick Boseman. Wakanda forever! And Chadwick was just coming fresh off a box office success in the movie 42, where he portrayed baseball player Jackie Robinson. As far as the directors, it was kind of floated around who it's going to be, with names such as Ava DuVernay, who has done films such as Selma, 13th, A Wrinkle in Time, and the Netflix series When They See Us, as well as F. Gary Gray, who's done films like Friday. But ultimately, the project landed on the lap of up-and-coming visionary director Ryan Coogler. Now, Ryan Coogler came off great films such as Fruitvale Station, as well as the Rocky spin-off movie Creed. So you already know you're in good hands with that, especially when you've seen the movie Creed. This was going to be the first time, I think, for a superhero film. Matter of fact, this was going to be the first time of any film with this big of a budget that it's going to feature a predominantly black cast. And for Coogler himself, this was a personal project for him as he grew up reading the comics of Black Panther. As I mentioned, predominantly black cast. You have Michael B. Jordan portraying the antagonist Eric Killmonger, Angela Bassett playing the mother of T'Challa, Letitia Wright playing Shuri, T'Challa's sister, Lupita Nyong'o playing Nakia, which is T'Challa's love interest, Danai Gurira playing Okoye, which is the leader of the Dora Milaje, which is the female warrior protectors of the crown. And then also other notable actors to include Forrest Whitaker, Winston Duke, Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out. And then top it off, you've got two legendary actors in Andy Serkis, who reprised this role as Ulysses Klaue, and Martin Freeman, who reprises his role as Everett Ross. So with all of this momentum and all of this attention and all of this money kind of put into this project, it was really kind of a question what kind of envisioning this was going to be. And from the production, you can see there was heavy emphasis on the African culture, of the African layout, how it really was, focusing on building a world that we haven't seen in any other film before. You know how films make the settings kind of its own character? In Black Panther, it feels like the whole nation of Wakanda feels like its own character. The sights, the sounds, the rhythms, the layouts, the outfits, the walks of life you see play throughout this entire nation, it really is in itself its own character. Now, although the filming did take place mostly in cities like Atlanta and Busan, which is in South Korea, there were also additional filmings in countries like South Africa, Uganda, and Zambia. And then not to mention too, the score. Ludwig Göransson, I think I pronounced that correctly, went to Africa to really kind of explore the sounds that he needed to create the score for this film. And of course, the album that was inspired by the film was created and curated by Grammy Award-winning hip-hop artist Kendrick Lamar. So lots to consider. Nearly 20 years of development overall, the predominantly black cast, the first ever multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollars in budget for a predominantly black casted film, the emphasis on the African culture and the overall walks of life, the score and music really being a key factor, and of course the whole city of Wakanda being played out as a character in Black Panther. All right, we've gone through the development. Let's go ahead and hit Act 2. Act 2, execution. Black Panther, take 1. So really a lot of pressure being built on this film to really kind of knock it out of the park. A beloved comic highlighting a fictitious yet inspiring nation of Wakanda, and a heavy showcasing of a predominantly black cast really was kind of the icing on top of what was to be the anticipation of this movie. And I guess it's safe to say that Black Panther really did exceed expectations. First off, Black Panther offers terrific performances. From the very top, Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman was placed on this earth to play such a character like T'Challa, to play such a character like Black Panther. And his chemistry works and bounces off well with Okoye, with Nakia, with Shuri, hell, even with Killmonger. The chemistry is there. Speaking of Killmonger, if there are 3 names in the entire MCU that pop up in regards to memorable villains, you've got Loki, you've got Thanos, and then a solid 3, you've got Eric Killmonger. Eric Killmonger is arguably one of the more convincing, one of the more thoroughly effective villains in the entire MCU, because there is an emphasis on sympathy in regards to his upbringing and in regards to his background and his childhood. You see it play throughout the film. You see him past that he had and really kind of changing him to be this monster and this entity that he's ultimately become. You see that and you don't really kind of hate him. You just kind of feel for him and you understand his motives, even though they're outlandish, they're inhuman, and it's really kind of far-fetched, but you do understand him. And not to mention Michael B. Jordan putting on such a terrific performance. So great Killmonger, great T'Challa. The supporting cast, like I mentioned, Okoye, Shuri, Nakia, all great supporting cast, all great performances throughout. I will mention, as far as nitpicking kind of criticisms, The visual effects for this were a little subpar. Yeah, it just felt like it was a little too much. It felt like, why do this when it could have been done with practical effects? But, you know, that's me being nitpicky. The overall illustration of the technological advancements of Wakanda with the usage of vibranium really is kind of crucial and really is kind of beautiful to see when you see it in this film. What I do like is they don't really do an origin story. What they do, which is clever, is put this man into an immediate position of power and see how someone who is a novice in handling such a task like running a nation does with that type of power. Of course, we know the events leading up to this. T'Chaka, who is T'Challa's father, dies in Captain America Civil War. He was the original ruler of Wakanda, and now his predecessor, T'Challa, must take over the nation of Wakanda. So for a young man upholding the mantle of not only a king, but the warrior of Black Panther, that's a really big task to uphold, and such quick timing too. So you see him really struggle with that power, trying to rule his nation, but also trying to be there for the world, understanding what the world is like in comparison to what Wakanda is like. So I really like that aspect of the story, and not really doing him how he becomes a king, but how he deals with being a king. What I really like too is that there's no emphasis on tie-ins to other MCU films. You know how you see other films and you feel like there's certain plot points and there's certain strands that really tie into another film? This one could easily been a film by itself without any affiliation with MCU, and it still would have been great. It wasn't necessary to tie in anything from the MCU to Black Panther. Black Panther in itself is already a great film as it is, if it was in the MCU or not. As I mentioned, it's visually breathtaking. Wakanda looks beautiful. Wakanda forever! Artistry, the costumes, the set designs, the set pieces, it just looks so magnificent to portray on film. If anything, at least looks the most beautiful in the MCU. I think that Black Panther, especially in Wakanda, looks very, very aesthetically beautiful. Overall, the film was good. I liked the action of it. I think the themes of it really kind of hit home. The performances from its main cast as well as supporting cast were on point. The showcasing of Wakanda, showing this brand new world to us that we have never seen before, was really magnificent in itself. And though the visual effects may be a little bit subpar, overall, I get the concept, I get what they were going for, and I applaud really the efforts that they did with this film. So, great performances, Wakanda as its own character and being beautiful as it is, the ability to stand on its own 2 feet without the dependency of other MCU films, deep-rooted in how someone deals with being a king rather than how he becomes a king, the sympathy of the antagonist, poor but effective visual effects, and just how damn beautiful it looks. Like, Wakanda is just beautiful. Anyways, that concludes Act 2. Let's go ahead and see the execution in Act 3. Act 3, response. Black Panther, take 1. So a film of this magnitude, obviously being an MCU film, being sponsored and distributed by Disney, you figure it's going to be a good film in regards to its overall numbers, right? And you're right. But boy, did it really exceed expectations when it comes to the numbers. Domestically, just in the United States, Black Panther was able to garner over $700 million. To put that in perspective, Titanic only made $600+ million. Black Panther made $700 million. Wakanda forever! And overall, the film produced $1.3 billion overall. And by this point, I believe it would mark as the 4th billion-dollar film created by Marvel. Of course, they made it with the Avengers, with Iron Man 3, with Avengers Age of Ultron, and now, of course, with Black Panther. Black Panther was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. And that already broke barriers because that was the first ever superhero film to be nominated for Best Picture. Although it didn't win, it did walk away with 3 Academy Award wins in regards to production design, costume design, and original score. And of course, with this success, it solidifies its cast. Chadwick Boseman became a solidified star after this film. Michael B. Jordan became a solidified star after this film. The supporting cast, Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, Denai Gira, were all becoming worldwide renowned stars. Even though they've done their works in TV and have won Academy Awards, they were being, worldwide notable stars because of Black Panther. And I think the main point in regards to his response, the fact that it wasn't just a film to watch for 2 hours, it was an event to experience. You want to know how big of an experience this was? Kids were told, like little toddler kids were told that they were going to watch Black Panther in theaters all together. And there's a viral video on the internet of kids dancing because they know that they were going to see Black Panther. You have both African Americans and Native Africans dressing up in their traditional attire and wardrobe to go experience this film. And I know a lot of people are thinking, why the hell are they dressing up like this to go watch a film? You should be asking yourself, why the hell are you dressing up like superheroes to watch a superhero film? I don't think you should be focusing on what they're wearing, but rather why they're wearing it. Because as I mentioned, this is a big budget film. Multi-million dollar budgeted film, and it's a predominantly Black cast film. No other film in history has ever had that. And for this to happen, and a superhero movie of all things, this is really a spectacle that was something to behold and to really experience and to feel when you're in the theaters. Because truth be told, all our lives we're accustomed to seeing, you know, white superhero, your Supermans, your Batmans, your Spider-Mans, your Wolverine, your Captain Americas, your Iron Mans. Other than Blade and Spawn and Steel, when have you seen a Black superhero with this big budget and surrounded by a predominantly Black cast in a Marvel film? This is really a life-changing experience for a lot of people, especially the younger Black audience. As kids, you see Batman and you can say to yourself, I see myself as Batman. You can see Spider-Man and you say to yourself, I see myself as Spider-Man. For Black Panther, I think young Africans and African Americans, both male and female, can see this and say to themselves, I see myself as T'Challa. I see myself as Killmonger. I see myself as Shuri. I see myself as Okoye. I see myself as Nakia. They can say on such a big scale and with the brightest lights and big budget and big studios that there is a character out there for them that they can have hope latched onto. And I think that's the real big key takeaway when it comes to the overall response to Black Panther. You may not understand it because it's so saturated right now with superheroes, predominantly white, that you can already attach yourself to. For young Africans and African Americans, they don't have no one to attach themselves to. But Black Panther, this film, this is something they can attach themselves to. So once again, big box office numbers. 700 million in the US alone and 1.3 billion overall. 7 Oscar nods, including Best Picture, and winning 3 Academy Awards. Those stars really kind of solidifying their status as worldwide renowned stars. And then of course, the impact of really what it meant to young African Americans watching this film in theaters. So with all that being covered, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, let's go ahead and hit my verdict for Black Panther. Black Panther is both an important film, an envisioning film, an inspirational film, and a great film overall. I really enjoyed the exuberant performances from Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan and company. I think the overall illustration of Wakanda was vital to this entire film, kind of puts an identity to this film. The story is great in how it doesn't stick with its traditional origin story. It really kind of puts you in the middle of things, and it really has its themes, underlying themes or not, that really do hit hard and hit home. The visual effects, of course, it's just a nitpick thing, even though, you know, it was a little subpar, but I'm not gonna let it dethrone my experience overall. But really the importance of having this film and making it such a showcase for young African Americans, young African natives, so that they can see this and kind of latch their hopes and their inspirations and their dreams overall to this project, to this story, to this overall entity known as Black Panther. So all of its importance, all of its vibrant nature, both physically, both aesthetically, both psychologically, put into this film, it's really kind of astounding to see it all unfold and the response from the entire world. Both now as well as after the passing, untimely passing of Chadwick Boseman. So with all that being said, I will go ahead and give Black Panther a very, very solid 9 out of 10. Now at this point, in regards to the rankings, I kind of lost track of my rankings, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the rankings right here. Any minute now. Thank you. Here's my updated rankings now that we included Black Panther. I know we've skipped through some films. I needed to get this one out just because of certain events that occurred. But as far as all the films that we've covered so far, here's your current listings. And as we keep going on, we will go on and add more films to the list until we get to all 23. So thank you again for tuning in. Sorry once again for the delay from last week. I really wanted to get this film and I wanted to make it as perfect or near perfect as possible, just because of really kind of the importance that Chadwick Boseman was and how much of an influence he was, not just in film, but in life. And it is really sad and tragic and sudden to know that he's no longer with us. But, you know, we know he's overlooking us from heaven, and we know that he's in a better place and he's not suffering anymore. And though he's no longer with us, his memory will still live on in the countless memorable performances that he gave to us on film, especially with Black Panther. And I know cancer is such a fidgety thing. It sucks to its core. So I put a couple cancer foundations and donations on the description below. If you would like to make any donations or have any information in regards to that, you'll see it in the description below. With everything going on this year, you didn't think it'd get worse, but it ends up getting worse and gets worse and gets worse to a point where we literally lose our king. But thank you for tuning in and being able to help me reflect on this journey, which is Black Panther. Really what it meant not only to me, but the entire world when it came out, and how much more it means now that we no longer have Chadwick with us today. But thank you again. Please like, share, subscribe, comment if you like, leave a great comment about Chadwick if you like, leave a comment on, you know, memorable things of Chadwick, memorable moments from Black Panther that you recall, or even other memorable moments from other previous Chadwick Boseman works. Any and all comments are welcome. Thank you for tuning in, and once again, this has been another episode of Eugene Reviews. I will see you again next week. And that is a wrap.